Hi, this is Joyce Farrell. I want to tell you about methods with a parameter. You can pass a data item to a method. When you do, it's called an argument. When the method receives the data item, it's called a parameter. Let's look at a short program that calls a method and passes an argument to it. The program starts and you declare a string variable called code. Code is going to hold a letter that the user types in to indicate an employment status. We'll prompt the user to ask whether the employee in question is full-time or part-time, and assume that the prompt is even longer and tells the user that a single letter is sufficient to enter, and then we'll let the user input the code. In this case, let's assume the user types a P, indicating part-time. You can then pass code as an argument to a method named displayRate. In displayRate, in the method header, you can declare a parameter, and this one we're going to name status. The important thing is that status has the same data type as the argument that's being passed in. So status is declared as a local string variable, and it receives a copy of the argument. It holds a P. Let's assume this method has some local declarations of two different pay rates for full and part-time employees, and then we compare status to F. In this case, it's not F, it's P, so we'll output rate 2. And when the displayRate method ends, status goes out of scope. It no longer exists. We can return to the main program, and when the main program ends, code goes out of scope. It no longer exists. Let's run the program again. We'll start it, declare code, prompt the user, and get a code. Then we'll call the displayRate method. Assume the displayRate method has been written a little differently, and that the programmer has named the parameter code instead of status. The programmer has given the parameter the same name as the variable that was passed as an argument from the main program. Even so, even though it has the same name, code in this method is an entirely different variable with its own memory location, and it receives a copy of the value F. Then the declarations are made, code is compared to F, and in this case, yes, it is F, and this time we'll output rate 1. When displayRate ends, the local variable code goes out of scope. After you return to the main program and it ends, code is also gone from memory. Let's look at one more program that uses a slightly different method. We'll start the program, declare code, prompt the user, and let's say this time the user inputs an F. We will pass the code as an argument to displayRate. In this version of displayRate, the parameter happens to have the same name as the argument had in the main program, so the local copy of code gets an F. But in this version of the method, code is forced to X no matter what it was when it came in, so when we output code, an X is output. When the displayRate method ends, the local code goes out of scope. And when you return to the main program, if you decide to output code, you get an F. The local code is the only code that exists. It's the only code that is visible in the main program. When this program ends, I thank you for watching.